Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Motivate Magazine interviews of the article writers. Today, I have with me Anita Andor. She is a nutritional coach and specializes in women's health. And she was in the bumper edition of the inspirational edition of Motivate Magazine. I am your host, Kim Langling. I am an author, freelance writer, and podcast host of Let Fear Bounce. But today, I am here on behalf of Motivate Magazine, the magazine for small business owners. So I want to welcome in Anita, and I want her to be able to share with you her journey and how it is that she got where she is today, helping in women's health and nutrition coaching. Anita, thank you so much for joining me today. An absolute pleasure to see you and meet you.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much, Kim, for having me on board. If I'm a bit nervous, it's because I think it's my first interview ever.
Oh, well, see, this is wonderful.
Yeah. But I'm very delighted to be here. So it's a bit of a long story, and it's really twofold because some part of it is due to my own health, and some part of it is due to the passing of my dad. So, in a nutshell, my teens and my 20s were just all about having fun and poor self-care. I completely neglected my body and my mind as well. And the result was hormonal imbalance, gut issues, and multiple food allergies as well. And despite all of these, I still closed my eyes over these health struggles until my dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Um, and watching my dad die in my arms really was an eye opener. And I got really concerned, and I realized that the realization hit me that I could be in his place in a couple of years if I don't take action now. Because I had very similar digestive issues than my dad. So I decided to take charge and made a promise to myself that I will live a healthy lifestyle forever. After his passing, I deep dived into nutrition and physiology research and studied at the College of Naturopathic Medicine in London for 3 years. And I have to say, I can't put a price on the wealth of knowledge I gained there in that 3 years, and it was really by far the best investment I've ever made. Roughly, it took me about 2.5 years to fix myself and get to the level where I wanted to be. And that level, I think, is, when you feel energized, vibrant, and excited about life. When you get up every morning without the need for coffee, and just
Right.
feel like, yeah, and just feel like I'm looking forward to today. And I feel like that most days. So I'm very thankful for that. Right after I qualified, I set up my online clinic. So I do see clients online because I do like traveling. So I just think that, and it's very, very good during times like this. I mainly work with women who are going through similar struggles because I think that in order to be a good practitioner, it is key that you go through similar health challenges because that's when you can really truly understand and provide the best possible service. So, in a nutshell, my mission is to help women to feel whole again by making the right food and lifestyle choices.
Now, when you hold your clinics and in your programs and such, and you said you're typically doing them online right now, of course, the women that come to you, they have health issues, but are there other underlying issues such as stress, anxiety, depression, um, alcoholism, drug use, any things like that that are contributing to their poor health and their poor health choices?
Definitely, my big three are, or their big three, is really stress, anxiety, and insomnia. And my professional experience says that people do not understand the implication of those three.
I completely agree. People don't, people in general, I feel, don't understand just how much stress affects every part of your body. And then how
Exactly.
that can turn into anxiety, insomnia, depression, and then that all leads to self-medicating. It's like this endless cycle that I think a lot of people don't realize they're in until they're feeling awful. And then they look back and go, what have I done? Well, hopefully they look back and say, what have I done? I need to change this. So what's the most, you mentioned insomnia. Now, I suffer from that myself. I have a very, very hard time falling asleep. And when I do sleep, I don't sleep restful. And it's been that way for years and years, for a very long time. But I live with PTSD due to a traumatic event that I experienced years ago. So I know that that plays a part in it. But what do you see for the insomnia part? What are a lot of the, if you know, what are some of the causes of the insomnia for the women that you work with?
Well, usually insomnia can be divided into two categories. When you are unable to fall asleep, we call that issues around sleep hygiene. So they would be things like, is your sleeping environment okay? So we would look at those things. Um, the stress level goes there as well. Although stress can affect both types.
Hmm.
If you can fall asleep, but you are unable to maintain sleep, that's usually down to blood sugar dysregulation and issues around detoxification, because your liver is doing the detoxification between 1 and 3 a.m.
Hmm.
So if you cannot sleep, especially in those hours, then we would usually look at liver health.
Oh, that is incredibly interesting because we were speaking off camera about diabetes,
Yeah.
and my sugar always goes high when I'm sleeping.
Okay.
That's one of my, so I wake up with very high sugar, which is after, at least a 12-hour fast. So I haven't eaten, but it goes screaming high. So that's one of the things that my doctor and nutritionist and myself are trying to work on. So that was why I asked about the insomnia too, because I wanted to know, and you answered it very, very well. I didn't know that between 1 and 3 a.m. That's really interesting stuff because I wake up at 3 a lot. So that's very
Okay. So
interesting.
we
Very
need to look at your
interesting.
liver health.
Yeah, well, and diabetes affects your liver.
Definitely, because insulin is a hormone, and the liver is responsible for everything to do with
Hmm.
hormone health. So yeah,
Yeah, your liver and your pancreas. Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, I've learned a lot over the last year of my little journey with diabetes here. And that's why I love speaking to people like you because you've got this background in there of the very specific stuff that me as a layperson doesn't. I'm just learning as I travel this journey. Now, you had mentioned sleep environment. Now, explain to me what it is that you mean by sleep environment.
I think one of the most important thing is your room dark enough, and the second most important thing is screen time. What everyone is doing before we go to bed, or while we are in bed, we are looking at our phones, and including myself, because I'm guilty of this as well. um, luckily it doesn't affect me, but I'm guilty of doing it. But everyone is different, everyone is unique, so some people are more sensitive to the light. It can actually make a big difference if you don't look at your phone an hour, 2 hours before you go to sleep.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, see, I'm not one who looks at my phone, or I don't do any screen time in my bedroom whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and my room, I think it's pretty dark. It's pretty dark. Are there other suggestions or do you have some suggestions for folks to help with? Now, of course, everybody's different, but to help with just in general their sleep environment, besides making sure it's dark enough.
Uh, Another two things that is not really related, well, actually, it is related to nutrition, is make sure you spend enough time in outside during the day,
Hmm.
because that's what actually kicks in our melatonin production in the evening. So, and melatonin is produced from serotonin,
Hmm.
and serotonin is produced in our gut. So, quite a lot of it. So, if your gut health is not okay, it affects your sleep completely. So you get into a vicious cycle, really.
Hmm. So, gut health. It sounds self-explanatory, but a lot of people might not understand what that means. What do you mean by gut health?
What I usually do during consultations is I explain that gut is actually running from your mouth to your anus. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not just your stomach, it goes from your gut to your anus. So that means gut health actually starts in your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So oral hygiene, very important. Anyone struggles with bad breath, gum disease. We also look at usually whatever we can do online is at the tongue, so we can have an idea on certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So wash your teeth, guys, and go to the dentist because if there are problems there, that like that bacteria can actually trouble down to the gut and cause problems.
So, what do you mean about you look at the tongue? What types of things are you looking at for the tongue that might be off?
Um, this can be actually very complicated. We would look at whether there is a middle crack on your tongue. The more pro ones usually would look at the color as well, the coating and things like that.
Okay,
It's quite difficult to see this online, but if you
sure.
do a face-to-face consultation, you can look at these things and the nails as well.
The nails I have heard about. So, what is it that you're looking for? Nails, ridges, cracks, the color when you push your finger.
Yeah, all of those, whether you've got the white spots, the shape as well.
Okay. Yeah, a lot, and see, these are, and that's just something I've noticed that when I go to the doctor, he always does this with my nails to see how the color bounces back. But I never
Yeah.
asked him what it
This is,
specifically he's looking for. So
this is what the doctors used to do back in the days, isn't it?
yeah, my doctor does that every time. Every time he says, "Put your hands out," and that's what he pinches my fingers. And I've never asked him, and I should. What is it you're specifically looking for? Um, Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know, looking at the tongue. So that the middle crack in your tongue, everybody has one, but some of them are like, I mean, what is it? Is it are you looking, if the crack is big, is that bad? I mean, what is it you're looking at?
If it's like quite deep
Mm-hmm.
and larger inside, usually it indicates instead of candida most of the time.
Candida?
Candida, yeah.
And what is that?
Oh, candida is a fungi that can invade your whole body and cause all sorts of issues.
Okay. Okay. So that's interesting. See, I'm learning all kinds of stuff from you today. I'm fascinated by this simply because I had to make a whole life change, with my diagnosis of diabetes. So it's very interesting. Now you had mentioned, starting from your head down to your bottom, um, the health of your mouth and your teeth and your gums and your tongue and stuff. Someone had mentioned to me, and I kind of do it regularly. Hydrogen peroxide, gargle with that a couple times a week, and that kills all kinds of bacteria in your mouth.
Oh, I would probably recommend salted water.
Salt
Um,
water.
yeah. I think it's a bit better. Yeah, and I don't think anyone should use mouthwash. So it has a lot of chemicals, and
Hmm.
it's not advisable.
And I have done salt water because that cleans a lot of bacteria. Hydrogen peroxide cleans bacteria. Obviously, you don't swallow any of it.
Yeah.
You know.
That that's why the salt water is. I think it's a bit safer, just in case you do swallow it.
Okay. Salt water actually makes me gag.
Yeah, and I know
But
if
I
you
do
drink
it
too much of it,
anyway.
it's a really good cleanse actually if you drink too much of it because you can have a nice cleanse down there.
Yeah. You'd be clean from head top to bottom. Yeah. No, I'll pass on drinking salt water. I can't do it. Um, so then let's move down. We've eaten something, checked out our mouth and all of that, and then it does get to your gut. What are there certain? And I know everybody's so different. And I know there's specific things I cannot eat. I just cannot eat. Some things I shouldn't eat, and some things I can eat, but in moderation. So if you're looking for good gut health in general, what are the types of foods? And this, I know it's very basic general. What types of foods do you recommend for or that help with good gut health?
Well, I know it's a cliche. Everyone says vegetables and fruits. And yes, it's a very difficult thing to answer because, as I mentioned earlier, everyone is unique.
Hmm.
What works for you might not work for me. And you might actually not be able to tolerate the healthy food, but you actually better with the refined foods. For example, there is such a condition as SIBO, which means small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So, by default, we should not have bacteria in our small intestines, only in the large intestine. If bacteria gets into the small intestine, that means you're going to be reacting to, for example, all the fermented foods that are actually supposed to be get for the majority of the population. So if you are eating sauerkraut and kimchi and things like that, and you react to it, that's an indication that you might have problems there. So that's why it's very difficult to give advice like this,
Well,
and that's why.
how on earth would you get the right stuff in your small intestine? I mean, you can't direct it. So how do you how do
How
you
this happens? Well, the main reason usually is a slow gut motility, which means that you basically not passing enough stool or enough free. So basically, you constipated. And we also have a complex in our gut called MMC. This is called migrating motor complex. If this is not working correctly, the food is not moved down as it's supposed to fast enough, basically. So there are some little tricks like eat ginger. Ginger is going to make this MMC complex move, but that's how. So usually one of the things that I do is, like, a lot of people come to me and say, oh, can we do a detox? And I'm like, are you pooing enough? That's the first question I ask, because if you don't eliminate toxins fast enough, we will have a problem.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
So there is something called gastroparesis. If you heard of that, I'm
Hmm.
assuming. I have that, or did years ago, where all of a sudden I couldn't eat and I lost a tremendous amount of weight. I mean, really a lot of weight. I was in my early 30s, and that it turns out that's what I had. My food was not digesting, my stomach wasn't pumping the way it should,
Hmm.
quick
Hmm.
enough, and my duodenum,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
became inflamed and infected, so it wasn't opening. So my food was sitting there for 90 minutes as opposed to the 30 minutes that it should take for it to continue on its little way. Mine was sitting there on an average of 90.
Hmm.
So is that something that affects that smaller intestine, like what you were saying?
It could, because it might affect the whole process.
Right. Okay. All right.
But was this a structural problem for you, or the stress affected the motility?
It was a lot of it. A lot of it had to do with stress.
Hmm.
Stress was, and obviously, you're living in it. When you're living in it, you don't realize the toll it's taking on your body.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was going through a tremendous amount of stress at that time in my life,
Hmm.
and then once it was diagnosed, I had to have the scopes, upper and lower, and
Hmm.
they found all of this out. And I had all kinds of tests, and had to eat radioactive eggs and stuff so they could watch it move through. And
Oh.
yeah, I was in a tube. They put you in the tube and they watch your digestion go. And I had to lay there and not move for a very long time. It was interesting. But it's very interesting, it makes you very aware of what you're eating and how you should eat and just how stress and all these other outside factors, what they're actually doing to your body. It's amazing. So I love that you do what you do because I think we need more of you. So people are more aware of what's going on. The resources are there. I just don't think that no people don't pay attention until they're not feeling well.
I think that there are many of us out there now. Actually, maybe the market is a bit saturated, but the problem is that people always, most of the time, they come to us when it's not too late, but when they already been through everything and tried
Right.
everything, and they tried everything from Google, because but they don't actually they don't actually appreciate that it has to be personalized. So
Right.
having a condition is just a label. It's not actually going to tell you what's the root cause of the problem, because you can, if for example diabetes, you can have at least 5 6 different causes,
Hmm.
and you might have 5 people with diabetes, but they all have different causes, so they all need different approach, and this is what people don't understand.
Right. Right. Yeah, well, and you're exactly right on the diabetes because I have an uncommon form and I've never been overweight a day in my life. I'm tall, thin. I'm the least likely person if you look at someone to think she has diabetes. So
Yeah.
it is interesting. And I'll be honest, I did not pay so much attention to because I've always been tall and thin. I pretty much ate whatever I wanted because I didn't really gain weight, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And now I have to watch every single thing that I eat. So even thinking, oh, I'm not overweight and blah blah blah, I eat whatever I want, it still really really had a huge impact on my body. And now, part of it's genetic, but also part of it I was feeding that with the crap that I was eating. And obviously I'm sure that didn't make it better, so it was an eye opener to everything that you have to eat and how I don't think people realize, and I know they don't think how vigilant you really should be with your health, especially once you hit your 40s and over. Do you find?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I don't think that, yeah, weight is the only factor that we need to look at. Like,
Right.
I think energy level is for me, it's my number one, and especially how you feel in the morning when you get up. For example, uh, it's cortisol that is responsible for waking up in the morning. So if you don't feel energized in the morning, that is an indication that your adrenals are on the floor, and that's not a good thing, because it's quite difficult to come back from that. So anyone who needs coffee in the morning to get started needs to come and see us.
Almost everybody I know needs a cup of coffee.
That's a
Seriously.
that's good marketing, isn't it?
Because I'm one of those people.
Yeah, but
I have to I get up, take my vitamins, and take my dog for a walk. But while we're walking, and this is every day for half hour first thing in the morning, I have my cup of coffee while we're walking.
yeah, but there is a difference. Do you have that coffee just because you love the taste of it, or do you need that coffee to get you going? So there is a difference.
Sometimes it's both. Sometimes it's one or the other. I do love the taste of it, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it is I need it to get going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's not every day. So
It is
you
every
okay,
day.
Kim, for
Yeah,
now?
I drink a ridiculous amount of coffee every day.
Okay, we need to look at that for sure.
Darn it! Did I say a couple minutes ago I liked talking to you and learning from you? What was I thinking? I know people are always saying, "Wow, Kim, you drink a lot of coffee," and I know it's not. I know it's not good. I know it's not. I never said I was good at this whole journey and watching everything I was eating and drinking, but I'm trying. Coffee is one of my main vices. I mean, that's my thing, you know. Oh well, but
Well,
I love the information that you shared. I think this is awesome. Now, do you have a website that people can go to find out more about you and what it is that you provide your clients?
definitely, it's running under my full name, so it's at anitaandor.com.
So that is ANITOANDOR.com.
There is a little error there. It's ANITA
Oh,
ANDOR. So it's all A's all the way.
all perfect. Now I'll never forget how to spell your name.
That's okay.
Yeah, see, my glasses are on my head. I should have had them on and I could have read it the right way. AnitaAndor.com. So make sure, folks, for the you folks that are watching this and listening into it, check her out so you can learn a lot more about your own health and the benefits of taking care of yourself. I learned a lot this morning, so I truly appreciate your time, Anita. And I want to share the screen real quick just to remind everybody that we are here on behalf of Motivate Magazine. It is the Small Business Bible. It is the micro and small business owners go-to Bible written by small business owners for small business owners. So check out Motivate Magazine and subscribe to that, and you will receive that digitally each month. So once again, Anita, thank you so much for joining us today, and congratulations on having your article chosen to be in the inspirational issue of Motivate Magazine. That's exciting stuff right there. So a big congratulations to you on that. And I hope to see more articles from you in the future in Motivate Magazine.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
That was wonderful. I loved it. And I want to talk to you more someday about this because I love learning about all the nutrition and how we can better take care of ourselves. And sometimes it's just those tiny little tips that make the biggest impact on us. So
True
I
that.
thank you. I thank you for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom with us today. And I wish you a wonderful rest of the day.
Same to you, Kim.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye bye.